The year is 1949. The world is rebuilding after the devastation of World War II, but a new conflict is brewing, the Cold War. In the East stands the Soviet Union, a communist superpower seeking to spread its ideology. In the West, democratic nations, led by the United States, fear Soviet expansionism. This tension led to the creation of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, or NATO. NATO was more than a military alliance. It was a political and ideological counterweight to the Soviet Union. Its purpose was clear: to deter Soviet aggression and defend its members from attack. The founding members of NATO were 12 nations: the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Denmark, Iceland, Italy, Norway, and Portugal. These nations pledged to defend each other from attack, based on the principle of collective defense. An attack on one would be considered an attack on all. This principle, enshrined in Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, formed the bedrock of the alliance. The seeds of NATO were sown in the ashes of World War II. The war left Europe devastated, its economies in ruins, and its people yearning for peace and security. The Soviet Union, however, emerged from the war emboldened. It had the largest army in the world and had installed communist regimes in Eastern Europe. These regimes were not independent. They were Soviet satellites controlled from Moscow. The Soviet Union's actions alarmed the West. Several key events heightened tensions and paved the way for NATO. The communist takeover of Czechoslovakia in 1948 was a turning point. It demonstrated that the Soviet Union was willing to use force to expand its influence. The Berlin blockade, which began later that year, further deepened Western anxieties. The Soviet Union blocked all land and water access to West Berlin, hoping to force the Western powers out of the city. The Western Allies responded with the Berlin airlift, supplying West Berlin by air for almost a year. The formation of NATO in 1949 marked a turning point in the Cold War. It formalized the division of Europe into two opposing blocs and solidified the bipolar world order. This division, famously described by Winston Churchill as an Iron Curtain, separated the capitalist West from the communist East. The Iron Curtain was not just a physical barrier, it represented a stark ideological divide. The creation of NATO also had a profound impact on global politics. It shifted the balance of power, creating a military counterweight to the Soviet Union and its allies in the Warsaw Pact, which was formed in 1955. The formation of these two opposing military alliances intensified the Cold War rivalry, leading to an arms race and a climate of fear and suspicion. The establishment of NATO had far-reaching consequences for the Western world. It fostered a sense of unity and solidarity among the Western democracies, binding them together in a common cause. NATO became the cornerstone of Western security policy, providing a framework for collective defense and military cooperation. It allowed the Western European nations to rebuild after the war under the security umbrella provided by the United States. NATO also played a crucial role in containing Soviet expansionism. The alliance's military strength and its commitment to collective defense served as a deterrent against Soviet aggression. The presence of American troops in Europe under NATO command was a visible symbol of the American commitment to the defense of Western Europe. This commitment helped to prevent a Soviet invasion of Western Europe, which was a real fear in the early years of the Cold War. From the Soviet perspective, the formation of NATO was a hostile act. The Soviet Union viewed NATO as an aggressive military alliance aimed at containing its influence and ultimately overthrowing its communist system. Moscow argued that NATO's creation violated the spirit of wartime agreements and escalated tensions in Europe. It accused the United States of seeking world domination and of using NATO to pursue its geopolitical interests. The Soviet Union responded to the formation of NATO by consolidating its control over Eastern Europe. It established the Warsaw Pact in 1955, a military alliance of communist states in Eastern Europe, as a counterweight to NATO. The Soviet Union also embarked on a massive military buildup, expanding its conventional forces and developing its own nuclear arsenal. This arms race further heightened Cold War tensions and increased the risk of a devastating conflict between the superpowers. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, born out of the anxieties of the early Cold War, has endured for over 7 decades. It has adapted to the changing geopolitical landscape, expanding its membership and evolving its mission. While the Cold War is over, NATO remains a cornerstone of international security, providing a forum for consultation and cooperation among its members. The alliance has played a significant role in peacekeeping operations in the Balkans and Afghanistan, demonstrating its commitment to international security and stability. NATO's legacy is a testament to the power of collective defense and the importance of international cooperation in the face of common threats. Its formation marked a pivotal moment in history, shaping the course of the Cold War and leaving an enduring impact on the international order. As the world faces new challenges in the 21st century, NATO's role in maintaining global security remains as relevant as ever.